Inhofe, he's the top Republican on the Senate Armed Services Committee, put out a very strong statement the other day, and it reads in part, "The nation deserves better answers from President Obama. The president needs to put forward a comprehensive strategy for Iraq and the Middle East, one that tells our military men and women that their blood, sweat, and tears over the past decade weren't in vain." Senator Inhofe is joining us now live. Senator, thanks very much for coming in.
Nice to be with you. By the way, blood, sweat, and tears, that came from a guy named Brian Hackler, who works for me. I was with him over in Fallujah, and he had many of his people, Marines, that were killed, and those guys are devastated over what's happened.
Yeah, I was in Fallujah. I was in Fallujah in 2005 when General Petraeus was there, and the surge they weren't even thinking about a surge then. But it looked like the Marines had done a pretty good job in Fallujah, and right now it's hard to believe, and it's heartbreaking to think about it. ISIS and its supporters, they're really in control of Fallujah, Balad, so many other military places where the U.S. had
Bozo,
huge
Tikrit,
access.
Ramadi,
of course,
yeah.
It's heartbreaking when you think of all that blood, sweat, and tears that were invested by U.S. Troops to try to secure some sort of semblance of a democracy in Iraq. So here's the question: where do we go from here? What do you want President Obama to do? Well,
first of all, in 2009, 2010, and 2013, we sent some very strong recommendations to the president. We said, whatever you do, don't cut and run and leave him without any intelligence, without the other sources, things that we could have done with him, logistics, foreign military sales and all that, but he did it anyway. And now,
so what do you want the president to do now, Senator?
Well, right now I understand that we do have some Tomahawks in the northern Persian Gulf. That's a start. That actually, with the range that the Tomahawks have, they could hit anything in Iraq if it becomes necessary. Then I think we need to do some things, perhaps some airstrikes. But the main thing is to offer them the support of having the intelligence and then some of the equipment that they need to have. Because what happened was we just walked away from it.
But Senator, let me play the devil's advocate. The U.S. left behind a ton of equipment for the Iraqi military, spent billions of dollars training these guys, gave them all the help that they possibly could for nearly a decade. The first semblance of a little tension, they take off their uniforms, they run away. The ISIS militants, they've captured dozens and dozens of Humvees, tanks, armored personnel carriers. There was no resistance whatsoever.
Yeah, Wolf, that's true. For about a decade that was going on. We were giving them a lot of equipment and all of that. It was the abrupt withdrawal. Now, I know this because the Oklahoma 45th was involved in the training over there. To just all of a sudden take it away without leaving any of the cheap, easy, no boots on the ground support, and that's what he did, which he is not.
You want the U.S. to send troops into Iraq right now?
No, I don't want to send troops. He's doing that already, by the way. He's sending a bunch of Marines into the green zone, but that part is all right, just to protect the ones that are there, help them get out if it's necessary.
Well, let me just press you, Senator.
What we don't have.
Let me press you on the airstrikes. You want Tomahawk cruise missiles to go in. You want airstrikes, I assume drone strikes. But a lot of these ISIS militants, they're in jeeps, they're in tow trucks, they're just driving around. Finding the right targets. You spend $1 million sending in a Tomahawk cruise missile, it could land and kill a whole bunch of innocent civilians.
Yes, but if left up to the military, they're not going to do that. They're going to make sure they have a target out there they can hit and utilize that. What we have to do is continue to give them the kind of support that we always do. Bosnia, Kosovo, the Sinai Peninsula, we always do that.
And you trust Nouri al-Maliki?
Well, the only thing he did wrong, the major thing he did wrong, I think, was he had agreed to put some Sunni in his cabinet and all that, and he didn't do that. So he's partially to blame for the problems that we have right now. Now they're talking about, some people are even talking about joining in with Iran on this thing, which I think would be a horrible mistake.
Yeah, well, even Senator Lindsey Graham yesterday on State of the Union suggested maybe it's time for the U.S. to start discussing options with Iran, as awful as the U.S.-Iranian relationship is right now. Senator Inhofe, we got to leave it there, but we'll continue this conversation on another occasion. Senator James Inhofe of Oklahoma, the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee. We'll take a quick break.